think we are live. Pretty much everybody are here. It's good enough for me to start 15 seconds in. I never know when to start the intro because you hit the go live button, but it doesn't go live right then and there. Like you have to wait until Restream catches its thing, and then I'm waiting for people to get it. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Indie Pod podcast, because you can't have enough pod in the podcast name. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, and today I have a great guest. But before I get to that great guest, I have a few announcements I need to make. First off, there is a huge announcement, like huge announcement to make, and I'm going to make it after I introduce our guest today. I got something crazy. So, if you're watching live on Facebook right now, pop in the chat where you're listening from. I see some comments here already. Oh, Esprit Devora, there's a person I haven't seen in a while. How the heck are you, girl? I hope that you're not burning up in LA. That place just seems like it's like totally on fire and a free for all. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I hope everybody continues to stay safe and is evacuated as need be. Before we go any further, you should be joining us September 24th to the 26th. And I have an announcement about that. But you can go and register at indiepodcon.com/register. Use IPP. Yeah, you know me as the right. Yeah. As the discount code, get 10% off your ticket. Of course, there's a knocking at my door because my daughter is knows that I'm awake. But my door is locked, so she can't get in. So it'll be interesting. Big announcement right now, though. Philly Podcaster Meetup, November 17th. I've been talking about this for weeks now. November 17th, noon to 3. RSVP your spot because there is a limited number of spaces. There will be light refreshments served at the event, and Matthew Passy is signed up to speak at the meetup. This weekend, I'll be at DC Podfest. Will you be at DC Podfest this weekend?
I will not. I would love to be, but we got stuff going on this weekend, so I wasn't able to schedule it out.
Oh, that stinks. Okay, so Esprit says Los Angeles not burning. Okay, so I guess I don't know exactly where. I just assumed that it's all kind of in the same area. I'm not really sure. But if you want to come to DC Podfest, go to dcpodfest.com. It's Saturday, apparently. If you read it, it's this Saturday. Save $50 with code Super Joe. Would love to see you. Throw in the chat if you're going to be at DC Podfest. I'm looking forward to meeting up with you all there. And real quick, if you want to join us in the Facebook group, super active, super lot going on, go to indiepodcon.com/group. We'll be answering questions from that group later tonight, I should say, here on the Indie Pod podcast. At this time, I have to introduce the host of Poppin' Bottles Dadcast when that was still a thing, and now currently The Blank Show, 6-year podcaster, BK Mullen. Give it up for BK.
Woo! What's up, guys? How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Actually, in fact, after this, I have an interview myself. I'll be with Chris Ripka. If you don't know Chris Ripka,
oh no, yeah.
Great guy.
I've gone back and forth in the comments a couple of times.
Yeah, he's been active over the years. Looking forward to getting to catch up with that guy. So like right after this, I'm jumping right from here to there. Sweet. And yeah. So BK, tell us a little bit about your podcasting journey. How'd you get into podcasting? You know, popping bottle dads.
Yeah. So actually, about 6.5 years ago, my lovely wife and I were living in a small apartment, and I was just like any other podcast listener. I was doing Kevin Smith, like all 6 shows that he had going on, you know. I had Kevin Smith, Joe Rogan, Adam Carolla. You know, I listened to all the popular ones, like the super big ones, right? And one day I'm just like, you know what? I have a laptop and I have a microphone, so I'm just gonna do it. So I started my first show called Michigas and Rum, which was very weird. And the idea was it's just whatever craziness came off the top of my head, and I was drinking rum at the same time, right? So a few months later, we moved into a new house, and turned out the next door neighbor also had just had a baby, and that guy turned out to be Nick Brown, who, you know, we got together and we immediately connected, and I was like, hey, you do a dad blog and I do a podcast. What if we did a dad podcast, right?
Yeah, loving the
And
ideas there.
and you know, immediately we were like, oh my god, we should call it something cool, like the Poppin' Bottles Dadcast, but like baby bottles, right? And yeah, when we went through so many awesome experiences and had some really awesome episodes, both fun, you know, getting to interview people from all over, and you know, meeting a great supportive group of podcasters like yourself. And yeah, so a little bit ago, a few months ago, we decided to actually pack in the Poppin' Bottles Dadcast because our kids are a little bit older now, and it's kind of weird to talk about their personal stuff, you know? So we decided to switch gears because we just love talking about everything. We could go on a topic forever. And so we started The Blank Show. And The Blank Show is called The Blank Show because we don't know what the episodes are going to be beforehand. So whatever the title of the episode is whatever you're going to get.
Well, that is awesome. So when is the Blank Show launch?
The Blank Show already launched a few weeks ago. You can get it
okay.
on Apple iTunes, and we're on Stitcher, and we're on Spotify as well. Yeah, The Blank Show. And actually, right after we're done this, I'm recording episode 5. I think we're on episode 5. Yeah,
that is awesome. Congratulations on a new show and a new journey. It's always fun. More people that you get to meet and be, you know, involved with. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on all the stuff going on with Indie Podcast and all that jazz, man.
Thank you. It's been fun. I've really have enjoyed doing these episodes. So much so that my own show, Business with Super Joe Pardo, has kind of suffered, but it's okay.
You know.
It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I have 2 other podcasts, which I don't do right now because we're so busy with The Blank Show. Just doing stuff for that. So one of these days they'll be back. Yeah.
Things take over and all that. So before we go any further in talking about podcasting, getting to the answer of the questions that we were asked in the Facebook group, if you don't know indiepodcon.com/group, you should go check that out and come join us, come hang out in the Facebook group. We have, I was just checking, like in the last 28 days, we've grown 351%.
That's amazing.
It is. And most of that was, I think a lot of that came just straight out of changing the name. Cause like literally as soon as I changed the name from Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference to Indie or Independent Podcast, Podcasters Group, it like all of a sudden just like the requests to join, just boom 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 boom, like yep, it was popping bottles of it here,
dude. You know, when you have the right name, when you have the right logo and everything, like it makes a difference, man. It does.
People like the little neurons like start firing off, like, I get it now. I get it. Speaking of getting it, if you didn't watch last night, we premiered the MapCon 5 vlog. This is the 4th year we've done a vlog, or 3rd year, I think. It might be the 3rd year that we've done a vlog. I think it was the 3rd year we've done a vlog. And by we, I mean me. I did a vlog to commemorate the experience and all that, and I'm just so happy with the way it came out. I mean, I think that there's a lot more that I could have done, should have got more B-roll. You know, if I'm being honest with myself, I really could have used a lot more B-roll to get through all that. but it was, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, go check it out. indiepodcon.com/vlog. It's up on YouTube, and it is getting rave feedback from awesome people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, much appreciate. A lot of time went into it. Took a little bit longer than I, kind of wanted to, but yeah. So the big announcement, right? BK, you ready for the big announcement?
I'm ready because you told me about this. You didn't tell me what it was, but you told me there was a big announcement before we started recording, and now all this weight I feel on my shoulders and the excitement because also I didn't get to watch the most recent vlog yet. So I'm behind, dude. I'm behind, and now you're dropping this on me, and I'm excited. So do it, man. You got to do
it. Well, thank you, and I look forward to getting your feedback on the vlog, and hopefully it can make it even tighter next year. So the big announcement, it took a lot of time and effort, and I want to give a big, first off, I want to give a big shout out to Ocean Resort Casino. I love them. Casey, shout out to you for making it happen. The team over there for helping bring us down to Atlantic City last year. But this year, after much deliberation with my team, just a lot of back and forth, and the feedback that came from all the people that came to the event, right. We decided to go in a different direction, and we're moving the conference same weekend, 24th to the 26th, but we're moving the conference back to the Holiday Inn in Swedesboro for a number of reasons. And so the between the feedback and the conversation that I had with my committee was like, let's get the price down. Right. Yeah. It was because being in Atlantic City, it's food's more expensive. Everyone traveled another extra hour. I mean, including myself, who lives 8 miles from the Holiday Inn that we have had the conference at 3 years prior to moving into Atlantic City for a year, to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the conference. And so cheaper prices, more intimate feeling. One of the great things that everybody loves about coming to MapCon, about coming to Icon, we call it Icon 6, is the fact that when you walk into the atrium, the conference is right there, like the ballroom's right there across the way, the bar is right off to the left. There's tables and chairs and couches and everything right there. And everybody's just there, like everybody's in one giant space, and it just creates the right atmosphere for what the people that come to the conference are looking for. Absolutely. So it was a very difficult decision. It took a lot of back and forth, a lot of time on everybody's part to like figure out, should we do it? Could I do it? Does it look bad? Right? Like we went from this giant sprawling like behemoth of a building right up against the ocean back to the Holiday Inn. But I think it also speaks volumes to the name change to Indie PodCon, right? And the fact that like we want to create, and it's always been that way, creating the biggest bang for the buck conference meeting that we can create. And this hotel really allows us to do that. And it even allows us to hold up to over 400 plus people at the event. So, it's not like it's limited to like, oh, well, we got to cap it at like 100 people or whatever it is. Like we could go up to over 400 people at the, with that hotel, and everybody can still be like right there together.
Yeah. And the great thing about it too is like, compiling every aspect of it, it makes it so much more accessible, from a financial standpoint, from a travel standpoint, and then feeling comfortable in the space, even if you're a new person coming there for the first time. I have stayed at that hotel. I have not
Oh,
been there in many, many years, so it may look different from the last time
it
I was
probably
there.
does not.
Because I
It
spent
probably
some
does not.
time in New Jersey, and let's just say it was an interesting period in my life. And but no, so yeah, no, you want it to be comfortable, you want it to be intimate, and it's funny because that's sort of how, at least for me personally, I like to structure the podcasts, right? That's how I love to structure the episode. I want it to be the most comfortable experience, but also one that you feel like you can tap into and like get something out of and that sort of thing. So that's awesome, man. I think that's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Regor. It is going to be in Swedesboro, New Jersey at the Holiday Inn. It's called the Philadelphia, or was it Philadelphia South Swedesboro Holiday Inn.
Right.
It's Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But it is, right. The best part about it is like it's 20 minutes from the airport, so it's not as long of, people that flew it. Like we had quite a few people flying to Philly, and they had to either take an Uber, and that's, I mean, to Atlantic City was probably like 60-70 bucks
At least,
each way.
yeah.
And then, or you could take a bus, and that's
Yeah.
a lot cheaper, but then you add more time to the route to get down there. Or they took the train, but that, even because you have to go up the 30th Street station from a train or an Uber and then come down, and it just takes even more time to get to the event. And it's not like we're a week-long event where it's like, you're gonna be there for a week anyway, what's an extra hour on each end?
Right.
No big deal. Like, it's a 2-day event.
Right.
So yes, Regor, I agree. It will be awesome. It's been awesome in the past. They've been really good to us in the past. And it just makes it much more economical for both, on my part, on the attendees' part, and it enables me to have more money to do things with it, like to do with things with the conference, especially now with the rebrand. I can't use all the old banners and signage and stuff like
you
that.
need new banners, new signs, new everything. You need new collectible pens, new beer kazies, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Rager, yes, we do live like 2 miles from each other, and we still haven't gotten a beer together. What the heck? And there's a bar right around the corner. Yes, there's actually 3 bars within football throwing distance of me. We need to fix that, Rager. Let's chat after this. We'll get it straightened out and get a date picked. And get it hooked up here, because definitely gotta meet up with you now, Regor. If you didn't hear earlier, because you might not have been here earlier, we are doing the first Philly podcaster meetup November 17th, noon to 3. It's in like Center City. You can get, it's a very like limited, I think it's like 70 spots total. I don't know if we'll hit all 70. Matthew Passy speaking. And you can go to indiepodcon.com/meetup to register you and or any friends that you plan on taking with you. You can take up to 5 guests with you.
Nice.
I actually think we might get pretty close to that 70, because I reached out to several people to pick this specific date at this specific time.
Yeah.
So you definitely go get your stuff 10-4. Yep, man. Let's make all that happen. There was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, this shirt. This shirt is a potted shirt. So shout out to Brent Basham and his team down in Atlanta.
That's cool.
Running Potted. Go potted.net. This is not sponsored, by the way, but it just I feel like I should be wearing some of these shirts that I get, and I feel like I have a perfect platform for it now, because before, not so much. That sounds great. Does Ross know about the Philly podcaster? No, Ross probably doesn't know. I literally just posted and tweeted about it like 33 minutes ago, right before we came on here. So make sure he does know, because I would love to have Ross in the house, all the way from North Jersey. So yeah, we gotta spread the word. So if you know somebody, like, let them know. This is not just so everyone knows, like, this, where we're going, is a paid place. Like, this is like a paid meetup that I'm paying out of the Indie PodCon fund, aka me, to be able to host. So please, if you can make it. If you can bring 2 people or a person, come have a great time. We'll have light refreshments. It'll be, You won't be. You'll probably leave hungry.
Yeah, I love the face you make when you say light refreshments.
Yeah, well, water, maybe like
we're,
a pretzel
we're all
tray or
gonna
something.
fight over a bag of chips.
Yeah, it'll be the little 150 cal bag. Let's see. Okay, cool. He tagged Ross in the thing. Thank you very much, Rager. Much appreciated. Let's get back to maybe we should answer the questions. Why don't we take the questions, right? So the first question was, how do you, and maybe I should drop it in a banner. Let me drop it in a banner here, since
Ooh,
drop it
getting
like
all
it's hot over
fancy with your
here.
banners.
Yeah. So the first question comes from Josh Anderson, who said, how do you get over the initial fear of creating a potentially bad podcast? Bad, like bad.
Right.
Why don't you start, BK?
So the fear of creating a bad podcast, like from an episode perspective or from a show perspective, because it can be either. So like every time, I start to plan out an episode, I sort of run through my head what I want the theme to be. But other than that, as long as you make sure, this is from my perspective anyway, as long as you make sure that you're talking about stuff that you're passionate about, as long as it's stuff that you're not going to fumble over your words, like you can, maybe you need a fact sheet in front of you or something like that, or just like a little, lines that you can check off or something like that. Maybe you need a little bit of reference. But otherwise, I mean, as long as the podcast is built for you to get your message across and the message is natural to you, I mean, it's not gonna be that bad. I mean, you always have the technical aspects and the the listenership aspects and stuff like that. Like if you do a predominantly sports themed show and then one day you decide to do an episode on, I don't know, wedding dresses, you might get a dip, you might get a dip. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the fear of making a bad podcast is interesting. It's almost like you're talking yourself into the thing that you love. Like as if you don't already love the thing, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, if you're not, I think fear is definitely got to play a piece of it, because if you're not fearful of the content that you're creating, then you're not pushing boundaries. It's kind of like, music albums, right? Like everybody loves the first one, but then the sophomore slump is, generally because it's like, well, they're writing it while they're on tour, while they're doing drugs, while they're getting lack of sleep, while they're not eating properly, while they're not exercising, while they're not in the frame of mind that they were in while they took 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 years to write that first album.
Right.
They got to do it in like 2 years, and they got to do it through a host of craziness.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So I would say that you need to really planning would help, right? Any amount of planning, like you were saying, like writing down the basic pieces that you want to make sure you get involved in the episode, that kind of thing, I think will really go a long way in making you feel comfortable. I think another way of feeling comfortable is finding how to hit your reset. I always say like your reset switch before you go and try and do that, to get yourself like pumped up or amped up or however you need to feel to be it. Because you might be doing like the depression podcast where it's like, I need to be depressed to do the depression because it's all about my depression. And it's not gonna work real well if you're always happy. But not that you shouldn't have happy episodes, or you shouldn't be happy. I hope, I want people to be happy, but obviously depression comes in many different waves and forms. But like figuring out what you need to do to get in that right frame of mind to be like, hey, like this is me. And I also would say, don't be too critical, because of the fact that, like, look, I've recorded plenty of episodes where I'm like sitting there and I'm like, this doesn't feel like it's got enough punch. Like there isn't enough there. But then I would get people that actually wrote to me and said how awesome they loved that episode and it meant so much to them. And I'm like, didn't do anything for me. Sorry. But I put it out anyway. Put it out anyway.
Actually, an interesting thing. I think it was Will Smith who said it, when he was talking about like connecting with audiences and stuff like that, where because somebody asked him about like making different choices, right? Different choices with when you pick what movie to be in and that sort of thing. And one of the things he said was, I am a person of the earth. I am a human being that exists, and yes, I grew up in a certain way, and I am an individual, but in many ways, I'm not an individual, I'm part of a community. So there's like a 99.999 whatever percent chance that something that I believe and something that I feel is also shared by at least one other person, right? So that's also like I don't know, it's like the risk that is absolutely necessary when you do some sort of entertainment or something like that. When you do a podcast, you're sort of betting on the fact that the thing that you're talking about will connect with at least somebody, and hopefully it connects with a whole bunch of people, and then you can build an amazing community around that and stuff. So there's that. And then also, gosh, I have met a lot of people who are afraid of editing. They think that if they don't get it in the first take, that it's nonsense, right? Don't ever be afraid of editing. Like, the only reason I don't edit is because I feel comfortable. Like, I've podcasted for so long, I've done so many episodes about so many different things that I feel comfortable with, like, my speaking voice. I feel comfortable with how I interact with my co-host and stuff like that. So I do very light editing. Like, I take out some gaps, right? And just don't be afraid of that, because it's part of the process.
Yeah, so two things you reminded me of. One was I used to feel the same way about editing when I was DJing on the regular. And I remember having a talk with I flew out to Springfield, Missouri to meet up with a somewhat famous DJ named DJ P, who did the mashup album Uneasy Listening, and so I got to go out and spend like literally like 24 hours with him. And one of the things that I wanted to know from him that ultimately led me down the path of recording my first DJ album, and then ultimately like leaving my family's company and like starting this whole big snowball, was, am I allowed to use an audio editor to like fine tune my mix? Like, right, can I edit my mix and it still be like, or like, am I still like a real DJ if I do that? And the answer for him was like, absolutely. Like, that's one of the tools that you have at your display. And this come from a guy who only uses turntables. Like, there's no Serato, no digital anything. Like, it's all records. And he has an effects machine that he can do like live looping and stuff with that. But aside from that, it's all records. Right. So, the only way you're going to get better at being on the mic, the only way you're going to get better at getting over the fear of doing something bad, of the fear of, if I, am I pushing the boundaries? Am I doing enough to like doing that? Is like literally to just go do it. You have to do it day in, day out. Right. When, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just real quick. So I was listening to a podcast, naturally. It was Joe Rogan interviewing Kevin Smith, and one of the things they talk about similarities, or at least one of them, between stand-up comedy and filmmaking is you just have to do it. Like, if you try stand-up comedy, you're going to bomb on stage at some point, but then you learn from it. And like from Kevin Smith's perspective, writing and editing movies and making movies, it's always trial and error. You're always going to screw something up. It's just going to happen, but you learn from that every single time.
Right. Well, and if you listen to was it Miles Davis, there's no mistakes.
Exactly.
Yes. You're just, it's, if you're not making mistakes, then, and you're not learning from those mistakes, then that's that's a bigger problem, because that means you're not making motion, and if you're not growing, then you're dying. So let's not die.
Yeah, yeah.
What up, Larry Roberts? How you doing tonight? Jody Krangle says, I'm about to pivot after 30 episodes. It's always a risk. True. Definitely a process to refine what you're passionate about putting out into the world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, from my personal story, and I actually see Nick, my co-host from Poppin' Bottles Dadcast and the Blank Show, is now watching. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Nick?
I'll talk to you in a few minutes. So that pivot and that fear, right? So we were doing the Poppin' Bottles Dadcast for 6 years, 5.5, whatever. And episodes started to get spaced out more and more because of time and thinking of stuff to talk about on the episodes that we were comfortable with talking about, and we were talking about doing another show, just switching gears completely to something, like still the two of us but something else completely. And it felt uncomfortable because, all right, we're in the dad podcasters sphere, and we know how to work that. Like, we have connections in that realm. We have fans from that particular section of social media and stuff like that. We have a listenership that came to us because that is what our show is about. It's about being parents. And now we're about to go to a show where we don't talk about it at all. Like it gets mentioned sometimes. So yeah, that the pivot is totally a risk. But even if you pivot and then end up pivoting back, you're still creating, you're still moving forward. You're still doing your thing.
Yeah, Jody. So I pivoted after like 2.5 years of doing the Dreamers podcast. I had just won Business Podcast of the Year award, and was like, hey, maybe I should take this even more seriously, take it up the next step, take it up to the next level. And I changed the name to Business with Super Joe Pardo, and it's the same show. I mean, same questions, same everything. Maybe a little bit different. Perception, like dialed in perception with the show, but same me. And honestly, after 2 years, I'm ready to go back to the Dreamers podcast. And the main reason is I feel like a weight will be lifted off my shoulders, that I can go back to doing the work that is so invaluable to getting me to where I am now. So I think it's really like, pivoting is super, super scary. A pivot. Here's a pivot for you. I went from 1 episode a week the first week I launched back in 2014, May 2014, to the week later I went to 3 episodes. And then like 4 weeks later, I went, or 3 or 4 weeks later, I went to 5. So I was like, well, what the heck's 2 more episodes?
Oh my God.
So I was doing 5 episodes a week, and they were all well, for the most part, they were all interview episodes. And I did that for about a little over 3 months. Right. And then I was like, oh no, but I can't go back. I can't go back to 3 episodes a week. But I was like, but I want to write this book.
Right.
I got this inside of me. I got to let it out, but I don't have time. I'm too busy editing. Now, with that said, once we had our daughter back in 2016, I gave up editing. I said, it's over. It doesn't matter. I don't, and with at that point, I still went on a year and a half later to win, Best Business Podcast of the Year award with a show called The Dreamers Podcast. I had, no business. Well, the tag was like business lessons from those that live their dreams.
Right.
Okay, cool. But that's a long tag name.
It's really long subtitle.
Yeah, it is. So so now we're going to be coming back with the Dreamers Podcast. It's going to switch back over, and I'm going to kind of go back to what I know and what has enabled me to have so much more fulfillment, so much more money, because I have so many more connections and opportunities that came because of that, versus like the Business with Super Joe Pardo and all of that. So it's scary, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? There is no rules, and it's your show, so do you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even thinking about it in aspects of other mediums too, like Dylan switched to electric guitar for a whole album. And not only did he switch to electric guitar, but he also took singing lessons. And he released an album that was all on electric. And he actually sang really, really well. He didn't do the classic Dylan, whining thing. And at the time, everybody hated it. But now we're, like 30 years after that album, I think. And a lot of people are actually going back to it because, you know what, this is actually really cool. And another medium too, as far as acting is concerned, Jim Carrey, international funny man for all ages, basically, decided to start doing a couple of drama movies back in like the late 90s and early 2000s. He did The Truman Show. He did this amazing movie called The Majestic, where he plays a guy who washes up on a beach and he can't remember who he is, and he gets taken in by this small town, and it's in the 1950s, and what an amazing performance. Like, if you don't stretch out and try to do things, even if it's slightly uncomfortable, then you're just, the growth isn't necessarily going to happen for you.
And it's going to be painful. I mean, you look at like a person like PewDiePie, right? His whole thing was screaming into a mic, playing scary games, and he, in interviews, he's talked about like, I was really nervous that like people were going to stop watching my YouTube channel because I'm not playing scary games anymore. But he's like, I had played so many, I wanted to do something different. And I lost people because of it, but ultimately I made the right decision because it grew and grew, and now I'm, the biggest solo YouTuber on YouTube. So so I, it's one of those things where it's like you have to be willing to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. So Jody talks about her pivot but actually focusing more on the voiceover, on what I actually do, and as it relates to my other passions. I just didn't want people to think that I wanted to be a coach. I already had people asking me about that, so I wanted to nip it in the bud. I don't blame you, but talking about your passion is ultimately going to lead people towards wanting to work with you in one capacity or another, if they understand. If it's a very I understand, like, you're talking about voiceover and you're getting all these leads, you're getting all these gigs, like, I'm gonna want to work with you. Like, it's literally going to happen whether you want it to or not, Jody. So unless you talk about something totally different, like, I'm gonna start the cat podcast because I love talking about cats, and I just happen to be a voiceover actor. So David said he's looking forward to that. Josh Anderson said thanks for the tag, Joe. You're welcome, Josh. Let's see. Is a 1 episode a month show a bad idea, David Steele? I don't know. I guess it depends. I don't think it is, but I think it depends on what kind of production value you're putting into it. Are you putting more time and effort into the marketing or the production value of it to make it worth the while of like waiting for that?
Right.
What do you think, BK?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like, how long is it? What is it about? Of course, that sort of thing. I think for me, when I think about that, I think of the promotions and I think of the recording schedule too. Because, let's say I come out with an episode, like, 1 episode a month. Let's say it comes out on the 1st of the month. If that's the case, then I want to have it recorded by like the 2nd week of the month before. And that way I can take clips out of it and share them around, basically make a preview for the episode, and then put it out. Right. And then immediately after that episode drops, record the next one, record next month's, and then do the same process again. And you can get that moving like a well-oiled machine. And, you'll get a lot of engagement that way too, especially, sharing clips on, while YouTube has Premiere now, you can set up YouTube Premiere, that sort of thing.
Yep. And we did that last night.
Yeah. And, with Instagram, if you do a video aspect of your podcast, then cool. Then that audio clip that you pull the video clip and share that, and throw all the usual tags and that sort of thing. Yeah. So there's there's definitely a lot of space to do that.
Yeah, I think that, you just got to really up your marketing and promotion game to keep it in front of people's minds. That would be my key. My key thing there is like, if you're gonna do something and you're only gonna release one a month, and regular says, oh, you can bank the shows and publish one a week. Once you get 8 or 10. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing an NPR style interview show and you're doing multiple interviews and like really building like a piece that of value, you gotta, yeah, I think you one a month is fine. Especially because if you're a one person army, making all that happen. But I really think that, up your marketing game, putting teasers out there, keep it in front of people's minds so they think like, oh, I can't wait till that next episode comes out, and just builds that anticipation. I always go back to like, look at pretty much anything, and they market the heck out of everything, right? Like, the NFL, right? They're huge, multi $100 billion company or whatever they are. Even like Apple, right? Literally like $1 trillion company, Amazon, $1 trillion company or whatever. And they are nonstop marketing in front of you to make sure that you're at the front of their minds. Or you're the front of your mind. Sorry, it's getting late.
Right.
Been up since like 3 a.m. So it's you have to stay up on that as well, like marketing and just constantly putting it in front of people in different ways, slicing it in different ways, getting using like Headliner app. Shout out to Headliner app. Just being able to like put it out there, get the clips, make it happen. And so Joey said, oh, I do want to do more voiceovers, Joe. No worries there, but I need to focus more on the voiceover rather than life coach stuff. I'm not a life coach. I just happen to be. Oh, okay. Sorry. I must have missed that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And getting not life coaching clients, but getting voiceover clients would probably be quite helpful and lucrative. And you'd enjoy getting to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Josh, Joe, did you guys already answer those questions in the first half hour here? If not, I can track the questions down for you. We answered the first of the 2 questions and then got totally sidetracked by other questions that came up because of it. Your second question, Josh, is here right here. How do you create something wholly unique, original, something that the market isn't saturated with?
Right.
Do you want me to start with that? You want me to start?
Okay. Yeah, you start. Yeah.
How do you create something? So I think the number one thing is injecting yourself, your personality into everything, right? There's a butt for every seat, and your face is a seat, and there's butts to be planted on said seats. But no, for real, because people like voices, right? They like experiences that you bring to the table. They like the mannerisms. They like how you say things, like how you say your email address matters, right? Like, and then as Steve Swanson, a former MapCon family member, was like, he should be like me at themuppetcast.com. However, he exactly said it, but like people would stop him and be like, you need to say your email address, because they just love how he says it. So your idiosyncrasies, that in itself creates it to be original. And I think your experiences, like what makes you enables it to be original. Unless you're like, who's the guy that rips off Mr. Beast? There's a guy, like literally whatever Mr. Beast puts out, like I guess within a couple of days, he's like literally putting out the same video,
right?
And that's actually a whole like I don't want to say industry, but like there's a number of like people out there that literally whatever, like, oh, we're following Casey Neistat around, like not following him, but like literally he puts out a video, they're like reshooting the whole video but with them in it as if it was their original like thought and stuff.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like taking styles to, what I also like to do, Josh, is I will go, I'm a big tech head, right? Like I love tech stuff. I'm watching tech tubers like all the time. If I'm not watching like personal development stuff, I'm watching tech tubers, trying to like see what's coming on up and see what's new, see what people like, don't like. But what I'm really looking for, and what I'm listening for, like in the morning when I'm driving to work and I'm listening to WIP. I don't know. You listen to WIP,
I
right?
do.
Yeah, of course you listen to WIP. Yeah, we're in Philly.
Yeah.
So, what I'm really listening for is how they react, how they take things, how they break things up, how they do interviews, how, like, I'm looking for all that kind of stuff, and then seeing how I could take that out of the sports world, out of the tech world, and bringing it to the podcasting world, bringing it to the business world, bringing it to soon to be dreamers world, dreamers, entrepreneurship, and the like. So, taking like the ingredients and like deconstructing it, deconstructing it, taking the ingredients and placing it into your stuff with your own way of doing things is going to go a long way, because like nothing's really original. Elvis wasn't the first to swing his hips. just spoiler alert.
Michael Jackson did not invent the moonwalk.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah, I know. Shocking. I think, the biggest part of that, it's definitely all about you. And, for a long time, I liked to sort of hide myself within the show as if it's not me talking, it's the blank show talking. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's all about you. It's all about your mannerisms, how you record things. Like you said, like the way that you call out your social media or your email or something like that. And also, we gotta talk about the elephant in almost every podcaster's recording studio. The elephant that's there is imposter syndrome. Feeling like you are just a dude or a lady in a basement or an office, and you're just another, carbon. I know, yeah. Look at my basement, and just feeling like you're another carbon-based life form who has nothing to add, but you do have stuff to add, and the whole deconstruction process, and then inserting yourself into it. And this is something that we talked about earlier with his first question. Talking about things that you're passionate about, making sure that you're not just doing a topic for the sake of doing a topic that's popular at the time or something like that, which, sure, if you want to touch on something like that, you can. You'll drive views, you'll drive listenership a little bit. But it comes right down to, from my perspective, I'm a young guy. I'm a millennial, apparently. I don't know. Apparently,
I don't know.
I don't know. But like for me, when I talk to somebody about Old Town Road, right? I think it's a great song. I do. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy Lil Nas X. I downloaded his album. It's actually not that bad.
Is it not good? I mean, the first song was good. Old Town Road.
I'm also a hip hop kid too. But the other thing is, that's true. Yeah. But no, like when
only these two albums, but yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But yeah. So the first thing I noticed, I immediately noticed the 9 Inch Nails. What do you got?
You know what that is?
I can't read it. It's too shiny.
There's nothing written on it. It's just a picture.
Oh, no, I don't know what that is. What is that?
This is DJ Shadow's first album. Introducing. And it's still sealed.
My brother listened to that on repeat for, I swear, 3 years straight.
I never even noticed it has Super Mario Brothers in the picture. This is a record. I think it's a picture of a record store in LA or something like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It's all right. But yeah, so like when you talk about stuff, it's if you're drawn to it, then automatically it's something that you connect with. So when you're doing the pulling apart process and the inserting yourself into process, you really got to touch on, okay, why was I drawn to this thing? Why am I talking about this thing? Not so much the will somebody be interested in listening. That comes after. That's a whole nother thing, and that's on their end of the microphone, if you know what I mean. That's for the brain in between the two earbuds to figure out. All you can do is just put yourself in there and put yourself out there and see what happens.
So the person that I was referring to earlier is called Morgs.
Morgs.
Morgz. He has
Okay.
10.7 million subscribers, and it's literally challenges. Just like Mr. Beast. But
Gotcha.
no, he didn't do the 20 million tree thing. Now, the thing about the 20 million tree thing, so he got to 20 million subscribers, I think, or something like that, and he challenged all like a bunch of other YouTubers to do it, like to plant like 400 trees or something like that each. And like I watched a couple of the videos, and they were very, very interesting. Like of the other the other podcasters I actually watched, like doing the thing, like Linus from Linus Tech Tips built a cannon to
Right.
plant trees. Like how
Yeah.
cool is that, right? Like or Matt Diavella like went and made a video about how he couldn't go and plant the trees, so he had just the power of saying no, and but go donate kind of thing. So yeah, so anyway, let's see, the Josh Anderson, that's a really good point. Basically it's all been done before, but it's different when you put a bit of yourself into it. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the other thing is it comes down to confidence too, right? Like if you do something more confident than versus like kind of wavering, kind of wishy-washy, it just doesn't feel as authentic. It doesn't feel like it's coming from you, and it feels like you're just like, I must read this thing, like that's sitting in front of me.
Yeah, and real quick, if it's something that you definitely want to talk about, like if it's something that you definitely think you need in your podcast, in your show, save it for the next episode, like, or 2 episodes from now. Like if you're having trouble with your confidence behind it, if you're just not quite putting it together, then shelve it, man. Work on it. Like it's we already talked about stand-up comedy a little bit with Bombing on Stage and that sort of thing. They test stuff out. They work on jokes. It's not all off the top of your head or anything like that. It's if you need to flesh it out first before you do it, then absolutely do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and I speaking of fleshing it out, like if you like a lot of these YouTubers, podcasters, like almost none of this, it all seems effortless. It's all very calculated. It's all takes a lot of effort and time put into, like, even just like watching Casey Neistat go from like space to space to space to space, talking about like it's one stream of thought, right?
Yeah.
But he's talking here, and then he's like out in the street, and then he's at the park, and then he's like all these places. Like I am sure he wrote down at least what he and by write down, he like wrote it in his phone about what he wanted to. So he made sure to talk about those things. I'm sure he didn't talk about the same thing in 5 different places, because that would just be really redundant and take forever to edit out and all that stuff. So
and like you can break down individual points into their own narratives. Each individual point of whatever it is that you're talking about can have a beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm. And that way your structure is, solid.
Absolutely. So Reger says, I hate imposter syndrome. Consider what we do, how many people do what we do. So that means if we do what we do, we know something, ? Why should we doubt ourselves? We can't compare ourselves to our peeps, but rather provide our knowledge to others who can benefit. And again, your experiences may vary, and your experiences play a large part in getting that message across in the way that you connect with a set of people, and not necessarily everybody. Jody Krangle says, comparisons on social media are just death. We only see the highlight reels. How can you compare yourself to just the good stuff with none of the bad stuff? It's really easy to compare yourself and to forget that, like, hey, if they have 2 kids, they probably have just as many issues as you do. It's not all sunshines and roses coming out.
Yeah, definitely. And that's how I'm just throwing stuff now. That's how communities are built too. Like, and I'll backtrack just for a sec. Comparing where you are now in your journey to where somebody else is in theirs. Immediately, I think of a picture that came out, I think a few years ago now, and it makes the rounds on Facebook and other social platforms every once in a while.
The car.
Oh, no, not that. No, Jeff Bezos in his first office for Amazon. Have you ever seen that?
I'm Googling it.
It's really pixelated, right? Well, it's not great quality, right? But look it up because it's Jeff behind a desk, and I think he's got like an old Dell desktop and papers all over the top of the desk. But the rest of it is, yeah, there it is. And look at the sign. Yeah, that picture. And look at the sign above him. It says Amazon.com, but it's actually blue spray paint on a huge piece of paper. That is where Amazon started. Just a dude in some cheap rented office with a spray painted banner and a single desktop computer. Like,
well, it's
wow.
what the internet's supposed to be, right? Like, it's just a bunch of nerds in their family's basement.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
their parents' basement,
And like,
you know.
and even I didn't even notice this before. Look at the table he's working on. Like,
Oh, it's
it looks
built.
like
he built it, or
yeah, it's
somebody
just
built it
made
for
out
him.
of wood scraps. Like, look at that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, the rat nest of wires on the
Exactly.
back. That's not cable managed at all. That would never pass on YouTube today.
Absolutely not. No, imagine if he started a YouTube channel in that office. Like, he would be lambasted forever.
If he started it today, yes.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
so never compare where you are at in your journey with where somebody else is, because you just can't. It's no bueno, if you know what I mean.
And Regular says, OMG, Morgs might just be my new favorite creator. I'm gonna have to binge watch some of his content.
Nice.
I guess, but PewDiePie did call him out for straight copying. In fact, there's one video where they're like, he straight copied him, I guess, for 10 minutes straight in a video. So yeah, it's
wow.
not great. Not great. He also Regular also says, my son Distef makes hip hop and trap music. He has been doing it for 6 years. That's awesome. That's something awesome. I've always wanted to do, but I never had the patience to do. That's why I DJ.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I actually just started listening to well, I've known about this guy forever, but I just started listening to this guy named Akira the Don. And a lot of the music that he puts out that I found out, like my brother was into him more and then shared it with me. A lot of the music he puts out, it's audio tracks of people talking. Like let's say Jeff Bezos gave a TED talk, right? So he takes the audio of just Jeff talking and puts like trap music and hip hop music behind it. So it's this really interesting, like ethereal, like a book on tape, but it's really dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got what's it? Sounds like Pogo a little bit.
Yeah. And like stuff awesome. That well, DJ Shadow's done it too. Like he's done a couple where like I think it was I don't know, it was some audio recording. It wasn't Walt Whitman, but it was somebody with an amazing, it was like George Orwell reading Walt Whitman quotes. And like he just dropped them into this, he had this beat, he had this song, he had nothing else to do with it. It was just sitting there and he's like, you know what, I'm just going to mash this together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm also a big fan of Girl Talk, which stinks that he's no longer doing anything.
Yeah.
But I actually saw him live. That was really cool. That sounds intense. It was even cooler because I didn't. So like we were at the House of Blues in Atlantic City, and so I was with like my wife and well, she wasn't my wife yet, but and like two other people, and we were older. We were clearly older than like everybody in the pit, but I didn't realize you could buy tickets to sit up top. So we go over to like the stairway to get up there, and I'm like, can we go up there? I'm like, I don't really want to. I'm too old to be down here.
Yeah.
And I was like probably like 27 at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And they were like, she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. So she gave us like front row seats up in like the balcony to watch the show from. I'm like, that was cool. Because I didn't want to be down there.
That's awesome.
Akira the Don on YouTube. Yeah, I just pulled that up here. So Very sounds cool. I'm gonna have to give it a listen after. I might actually already be familiar with a couple of his works. I just didn't realize that was the name.
Yeah, you
But
might. So he actually just there's a new album he put out this year. He puts out like a couple albums a year because he also does he'll just put out the music, just the music with no, spoken audio on it. Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson at all?
a little bit, yeah.
All right, so I just downloaded today. Actually, it's called a JBP Wave Father, and yeah, it's just like I said. It's a whole bunch of Jordan Peterson speaking, but put to stuff like trap beats and that sort of thing, and that's available on iTunes,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I
and
see
probably a
it
couple other
here
places.
at the top of that's at the top of the search,
Yeah, there
Jordan
you go.
Peterson stuff. So let's see. There was one other question. I know we're like pressing up against the time here.
Hey.
Well, yeah, no, normally I wouldn't care. I just feel bad because I know Chris Ripka is waiting for me, but
Right.
well, what's up, Chris, if you're watching? Let's see. So the last question was tech advice for doing remote podcast for audiences, best tech setup to amplify while recording, doing more live shows.
I
So we're
mean,
doing one right now, and we're
yeah,
using
yeah, like,
StreamYard, which enables us to go out to restream, but they have their own stream, like multi-stream function too. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. So that's StreamYard.com. And they actually do recordings now. So StreamYard it also records, so you don't have to go and download the file later from YouTube. Does a straight recording, and I love it. But there's other ways to do it. Squadcast is another way.
yeah,
People do use Zoom. I know people that just use straight up Facebook Live and just like pull in two people and they're in their Facebook groups talking. But it's not recording, but you could download the video afterwards and rip the audio out. And the best tech setup, I love the ATR 2100. I know I'm not using that right now, but I have one actually in my bag. So I was using it earlier today to record a on hold music for our shop.
there you go.
Yeah, or on hold music / like, thank you for holding, blah, 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 blah. Did you know, blah, 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 like
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So ATR Audio Technica, ATR 2100 microphone. You just plug that boom USB right in your computer. In fact, this is a great. But before I get to your answer, BK, this is a great segue into something I've been working on the last last 4 or 5 days. I'm writing the ultimate podcast how to start a podcast guide.
Right.
And I'm literally at 4,400 words already, and I just got to the tech stuff. I haven't even started the step by step stuff that I have from a course that I recorded a long time ago, and I'm putting it all in so that we can drive traffic to indiepodcon.com and get it to be ranking. We want to go number one right now. Number one is Pat Flynn. Let's go be Pat Flynn. Can we do that? Can I make that guide that will outrank? Because here's the thing, right? So I'm writing this guide so that people find out about IndiePodCon, want to get excited about IndiePodCon, want to join the Facebook group, want to become a family member and come out to the event and have a great time and learn. But I look at Pat Flynn's and it's basically buy my course. What's his face from The Critic, right? Buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. That's but that's literally what, and it even tells you in the very beginning, it's this is what you're gonna learn, but if you actually want to learn, buy this course. It's cool, but here's the actual guide to actually getting it done. If you don't know anything other than how to turn a computer on and kind of use how programs work or how computers work, this is how to get it done. And that's what I wanted to do, was provide all that value, all that content, and then branch off of that so we can drive more traffic, so we can get more people in here and help build and foster the community. So I just wanted to put it out there. I've been waking up at 3, 4 in the morning for the last several days just so I could get my writing in and boom, 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 get it done. Anyway, BK, what's your answer? What's your answer to doing? How do you record your show with your partner?
So we use Squadcast. We used to do you know what? I can't even remember the program that we used to use.
Oh,
But
Skype.
we were actually doing really lo-fi for a long time, where we would simply do a FaceTime on we would do a FaceTime on the phone, right? And I would just have him on speaker and the microphone parked between me and the phone. Like it
That's interesting.
it can be that easy if you need it to be. Now that's not the best.
Well,
That
you
is
see it in
not
documentaries and TV shows all the time, right? Like
right,
they don't
right,
have a camera crew necessarily at both. And even when they do have a camera crew at both, whether they're faking it, like, oh, I'm just gonna say blah blah blah, they're like repeat what I said into the phone, like it's like weeks later or whatever.
right.
They use the phone to be like, I'm talking in and learning, driving the story forward.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, just do what you can, because the main thing that's going to drive your podcast is the content. And like, if you can get it, if you can record the voices, uh, just as best you can, as long as it's clear, as long as people can understand what the both of you are saying and there's no cutouts or anything like that. Like, really, whatever you can do is what you can do. Like, I see your mic looks amazing, by the way. Your mic looks super sexy on camera. It's a Audio Technica, right?
No, it's a
What is
Shure
that? Oh, a show. Oh,
SM7B.
okay. Just sitting there with an SM7B. I see what that is.
Yes,
Meanwhile, I'm not even going to ask you how
Roller
much
mic.
that was, because
350. This might be the well. No, I had two of them, but one of them broke. This might be the refurbished one that was 275
Okay. Hey,
instead
I
of
always love
250.
getting
Oh
refurbished.
God, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
everything's got
yeah.
to be
Okay.
refurbished.
So this microphone that I'm using is a blue Snowball, which is $80. And
It
actually,
works.
I have two others that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace for like $10 each. And it's not. It doesn't have to be, you know, the most expensive equipment. It doesn't have to be, something you grabbed out of a trash can. It just needs to be what works for you, what gets you at least good enough audio quality to just get the show go. Just do the show. Just do it, do it, do it. Get it done in the best way that you possibly can at the moment. And then everything else will figure itself out, afterwards.
Yeah. So I think one of the examples I always use, and I know because you listen to WIP as well,
Yeah.
$30 billion company, CBS owns this sports talk radio here in Philly,
Yep.
and they rely on people to pick up their cell phone and call in. And it does not always sound great, but it does the
Right.
job, and it gets enough to get the heartbeat of the city when it comes to our beloved sports teams.
Yeah, and
So
hey, my first two microphones. I don't have the very first one. I can show you the second one. But the very first microphone that I used, and there's a picture of my setup somewhere on my Instagram from 6 years ago. If you want to scroll back that far, I'll see if I can find it.
okay.
But do you remember the long, skinny, like pencil ones that came with desktops back in the late 90s?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yep.
one of those.
I probably have one actually in my attic. And
Yeah, yeah.
my
So
boxes, just in
somewhere
case.
in this basement, I still have it. I started out with that, and then one year for Christmas, my parents got me this one. It's a Blue Yeti, which, by the way, I see, uh, I see like Kevin Smith, and I see, Adam Carolla, where they'll be on location podcasting somewhere, and they've got one of these. Like, whatever you can do,
Yep.
seriously.
Yeah. I had a Blue Yeti for the first 2 years of podcasting, and the only reason I switched to this was because my office used to be downstairs where there was an open door policy, because there literally is no door where that room is. And once we got a kid, I was like, I need something a little more close talker than something that's going to pick up literally everything going on around me.
Right, yeah.
And of course, not long after that, I decided, you know what? I don't have time to edit, and it just is what it is. And I started doing Facebook Lives as part of the pre-show. So you'd watch me and my co-host Matt talk about topics and stuff like that. And then then I would clip that into the front of the interview that was already pre-recorded, like, well down the line.
Yeah.
So, it worked. We both had other microphones at the time, but there's, I wouldn't sweat the tech. I've done an episode with Samantha Riley here, like 3 episodes back ago, where we talked about how she runs a 6-figure podcast from her Apple EarPods, and it's okay because it sounds good enough. It gets, I always say, like, get it to like 70-80%, as long as it's not hurting people's ears. It might not sound the best, but
right.
It sounds good enough, and as long as the content's there, it'll carry. People will literally say it's okay, or maybe they'll just go to your Amazon wish list and buy you a darn microphone, so that as a thank you for all the free time you've given to them.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that too, because before we started this, I actually had a decision to make. I was like, okay, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've used this webcam. So I was like, well, I can't remember how good it is. I don't know if it's going to look that good.
It looks great.
So should I do the laptop with the Snowball, or should I just plug my headphones into my iPhone and set it up, on its side, that sort of thing? Because I have a little, rig that I can set it up. So yeah, there's so many different things, and like, one of my shows I still run off of Spreaker, because Spreaker has an app that you just download to your phone, and you can record right there. Just plug in your headphones and hit record and start doing the show. So yeah, with all the technology that's out there now, like, it's not that you can't go wrong. It's actually just as difficult to go wrong as it is to go extremely right,
Yeah, well, it's easy to get that itch, and then to want to upgrade that itch, and then you spend more time watching about the tech to find out what you should be buying. Like, I do this all the time. But I spend more time trying to figure out what tech I should go buy, rather than like the tech I already have to just go and create. I've gone through a lot of DSLR and mirrorless cameras over the last 3 years. That's for darn sure. Buying, returning, selling, like, it's an addiction. In fact, I have a new camera coming tomorrow night, so
nice.
We
just got a new one as well. Yes.
Yeah, so and I already have two mirrorless cameras, and it's like, I gotta get this one now because it's upgraded. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So Jody said one of the things is I'm really lucky as a voice actor. I already have the gear. Absolutely. Did you build a voice booth? I have to do something for my son's music studio. That's a great question for Jody. I'm sure she will answer that question. In the meantime, we need to wrap up here, man. I have so many announcements to go through. It's insane. So I'm glad we got to answer the questions from this week. Thank you everybody who submitted them. I think we're going to continue to do that thing, and get those questions in, and get some answers, and kind of mix it up a bit here as we go through guests. Because I guess one thing I'll save that for last, but it's been so much fun talking with you, BK. Thank you so much,
dude. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, you are so welcome. You are welcome to sign up anytime you want. I know there isn't a ton of dates available. We were supposed to record before. Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
It all fades into one another. The days just fly by.
Somehow I had this day open. This was a Wednesday. I actually didn't have anybody planned to be scheduled to be on the show. I think there was a mess up on the calendar, but anyway, you need to join us. You need to join us September 24th, 26th to the 26th, 2020, indiepodcon.com. You can get 10% off your Icon 6 ticket with promo code IPP. Go to indiepodcon.com/register to get your ticket. They will never be cheaper than they are right now. The price isn't going up just yet, but you definitely don't want to wait, especially because of the fact that we have a pretty decent name that I can't announce just yet because the details haven't been finalized, coming to speak at IndiePodCon 6. Philly Podcaster Meetup. If you live in the Philadelphia area, you should totally come out to November 17th, noon to 3 o'clock. Matthew Passy will be one of the speakers that we will have at the event. It'll be networking, light refreshments, and just a really great, light, low expectations. Don't like, there will not be, you might want to eat lunch before you come. It's just saying. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we can get a sponsor and knock it out of the park. So if you could go RSVP indiepodcon.com/meetup, we can make that happen. We get that sponsor. Speaking of sponsors, is softball it in for myself while we're at it. Do you want to sponsor? Do you want to sponsor an episode of the IndiePod podcast? I didn't actually check to make sure that this link works before I posted it. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm checking it right now. Oh, it doesn't actually work, but we're gonna fix that live in the mix, because that's how DJs do. We fix things as they happen. So I'm going to fix it while I'm talking right now about why you should be a sponsor of not only this show, but you can be a sponsor of, Indie Icon 6 in September, a sponsor of an upcoming meetup, like the one in November. Reach out to me, joe@superjoepardo.com. That link does indeed work now. So if you go to indiepodcon.com/partners, you can check out the media kit for next year's IndiePod podcast. And one thing we've added this year, I'm going to share my screen real quick here. One thing we added to it was like, let's make some magic. Let's make something happen, right? Let's make something happen that you haven't seen at a podcasting conference. I don't know what that is. You might not know what that is, but give it some thought. And when you come up with it, I'll come up with how we can make it happen. And we'll come up with a price that makes it happen. So I'm really trying to push hard to find something that we can call magic, like lightning in a bottle kind of thing. What else do we have here? For anyone who didn't see earlier, Icon 6 is coming back to Swedesboro, New Jersey. The great thing about this is it's so much closer for every single person that doesn't live in North Jersey. If you live in North Jersey or above, it's pretty much the same ride. So it's the same ride for anybody in North Jersey. It's an hour less for literally anybody else coming from anywhere else. And it's going to enable us to be cheaper. Room rates are going to be I think $119 a night. So that is way cheaper than what Ocean was. Not that, again, supply and demand, where we were, atmosphere, all that stuff plays a part, but really excited to bring it back to, I don't want to say our roots, because our first year was actually at a school gymnasium, but close to pretty much our roots. The last, for 3 years was our roots. DC Podfest. If you want to come to a podcasting conference this weekend, go down to DC, dcpodfest.com. Shout out to Jennifer Crawford and her amazing team for 5 years of putting on DC Podfest. Get yourself $50 off with this code Super Joe. There's going to be quite a few. The Dave Jackson will be there. Chris Kermitzos will be there. Stacy Greenberg of the Icon family will be there. I'm trying to think of who else I know will be there. I'm not sure. So I'm sure other people will. Jennifer Crawford of the Icon family will be there because it's her conference. Definitely don't want to miss it. I'll be there all day Saturday. It's Friday night. There's a mixer thing. I will not be at that. I'll be shooting my first wedding as a videographer.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I got, you buy all this damn camera equipment, you got to start to make some kind of money with it.
You got to make that money back.
Yeah, make that money. Yeah, because you just spend way too much. Thank you so much, Reger, for saying it was a great interview. I appreciate it. Obviously, BK appreciates it. Jody says I'm north of Toronto.
Toronto.
Folks, you were asking us to put where you're from. Yeah, I did flick that up. That was by accident, but thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. We have people all the way in Toronto listening to the IndiePod podcast. I'm 2 miles up the road from Joe in South Jersey. And we go by exit numbers in Jersey, and this is exit 2 or exit 10 on 295. Yes. Well, I'm exit not 10. I am exit 18. I thought you were too, Regular, but anyway, we good luck at recording as a videographer. Thank you so much. I'm a little nervous, but but my boy Dre, he's very much like, no, it's gonna be you're gonna fall asleep doing it. It's gonna be too easy for you. Like, okay, brother, I hear you. There's just a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Anyway, BK, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, how they can get your podcast.
I am on the tweets and the Instagrams at BKMullen_, and also the new show, The Blank Show, is on the tweets and the Instagrams, as well as at The Blank Show _. I think there's an underscore on there. It's so new, I don't even remember what the socials are, but it's definitely the show is definitely on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you want to check that out. And also my show, if you're into all things nerdy and comic books and movies and that sort of thing, it's called Nerd Bone, all one word. You can also find that on iTunes.
That is awesome. No, you said Nerd Bone?
Nerd Bone, yes.
Oh, okay.
NERDBONE, yeah.
All right.
I had some other ideas, but they were all taken.
That didn't sound. So wait, that didn't sound right.
Yeah,
I'll connect with you on Twitter, BK.
Awesome.
He is You Do It. Yeah, or he is You Do It. Yes. Everybody, I hope you have a great week. Oh wait, one last thing I need to announce is next week we have not just the one but the two people coming on the Indie podcast. This is going to end up being, I mean, this is an hour and 20 minutes. This is going to end up being like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It's going to be a 2-hour triple threat.
It will be awesome. It's Tim, Brian, and Kyle Bondo. I am super pumped. I know Kyle will be there. He'll be at DC Podfest this weekend. I don't know if Tim will make it there. I'm not sure, but hopefully he will, because I would love to see both of those guys. 8:00 next week. Looking forward to it. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow's
Yes.
Halloween. Yeah, tomorrow's Halloween. Yeah. So enjoy that, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. And wish me luck for Friday at 12:00. I can't tell you why, but just keep them fingers crossed, because I gotta think, not just because Friday I'm doing the videography thing, but on the way to the videography, the wedding, I have a call. So keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully I'll have some good news, or at least positive news after that. So yeah, related to all of this greatness in, well, I can't see, like my hands are above. So like, and over there. Yeah. Everybody have a great night. Take care.